Spread across a desert plateau, the megalithic stones found here are among the largest on the planet.
Puma Punku has baffled archaeologists, engineers, and fringe theorists alike.
For over 1,000 years, the ruins of Puma Punku have defied explanation.
And what makes the puzzle of Puma Punku even harder to solve is that the stones themselves are so randomly scattered.
Scattered like a giant's toys across the Bolivian highlands. Some called it alien, others a lost civilization. But in 2025, a team of scientists uncovered something that changes everything we thought we knew. A secret, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to speak. The wind howls across the Altiplano, carrying thin air and the scent of ancient earth. From a distance, Puma Punku looks like a field of broken stone. But step closer, and you see something unsettling. Blocks so perfectly shaped that their edges are sharp enough to slice a finger. Each weighs many tons, yet they fit together with a precision that modern machines would struggle to match. For decades, historians argued, how did people over 1,000 years ago move and shape stone like this? The Tiwanaku culture, the civilization believed to have built Puma Punku, had no written language, no metal tools, at least none we've ever found. Archaeologists measured, photographed, and mapped every block. Yet for all their work, the stones refused to give up their secret. Every explanation felt incomplete, until the 2025 discovery. It began with an aerial scan, part of a global effort to digitally map ancient sites in extreme detail. The scan revealed faint markings beneath the weathered surfaces, lines, curves, and symbols invisible to the naked eye. Patterns that didn't match any known Tiwanaku art, patterns that looked engineered. If these markings were real, they could mean Puma Punku wasn't built the way we think. It could mean it wasn't even built for the purpose we believe. And one symbol stood out from the rest. The drone footage was clear, but the team wasn't ready to believe what they saw. At first, they assumed it was a trick of the light, shadows forming shapes on weathered granite. But when the data was processed through 3D imaging software, the lines became undeniable. There, etched into a massive H-shaped block, was a perfect circle surrounded by 6 radiating lines. The precision was unsettling. The circle's curve flawless, the spacing between each line exact to the millimeter. "What is that?" whispered Dr. Elena Vargas, the lead archaeologist on site. Her assistant shook his head. "It's not Tiwanaku. I've never seen this before." The carving was buried under centuries of erosion, barely visible without advanced scanning. Yet the lines were too perfect to be accidental. Someone or something had placed them there deliberately. Vargas compared the scan to the site's existing catalog. Nothing matched. The symbol appeared only once, on a single block, as if it were a message meant for those who knew where to look. Back at the lab, they ran the image through pattern recognition databases. No match in known South American symbols, no match in global archaeological records. But when they fed the data into an open-source AI trained on geometric engineering patterns, the program hesitated, then produced a chilling suggestion. The design resembled a type of mechanical coupling, the kind that used to lock components together in complex machinery. Machinery. If the AI was right, the symbol wasn't art. It was a blueprint, a fragment of a design older than history. Vargas stared at the print-up. If this is real, then Puma Punku wasn't just a temple, it was a machine. 2 days after identifying the strange symbol, Dr. Vargas and her team began a full-spectrum scan of nearby blocks. Most returned nothing unusual, just the familiar and baffling precision cuts Puma Punku was famous for. But then, Block 23 lit up the monitor. Beneath its weathered surface, the scanner detected a faint lattice of microscopic grooves, perfectly straight, evenly spaced, and impossibly fine. They were so precise that in modern terms, the only way to replicate them would be with industrial diamond-tipped cutting tools or laser technology. The grooves were invisible to the naked eye. Yet when magnified 500 times, they revealed a repeating pattern, almost like the teeth of a gear. The block was too heavy to move, so the team took portable instruments directly to it. A density scan returned something even stranger, a hollow cavity running straight through its center. That alone was enough to raise questions. Ancient builders didn't hollow out their megaliths without a purpose. Bertis crouched beside the stone, brushing away centuries of dust. Her fingers traced the faint outline of the cavity's entrance, sealed shut by an almost seamless plug. "What's inside?" her assistant asked. Vargas didn't answer. She was staring at the scan's readout, a faint but undeniable metallic signature coming from deep within the block. Metal, encased inside a granite stone that predated every known metalworking culture in South America. And there was more. The composition analysis suggested the alloy wasn't bronze, iron, or any known ancient metal, but something entirely different. Vargas looked up at the team, her voice low. "We're not looking at a ruin anymore. We're looking at technology." Long before modern archaeologists puzzled over Puma Punku, the Aymara people told stories that the academic world often dismissed as myth. They spoke of a time when the gods walked among men, arriving in great vessels from the sky, carrying tools that could cut stone as easily as a knife through clay. The site itself defied reason. The 8 blocks fit together with such perfection that even today, a razor blade cannot slip between them. Some weighed over 100 tons and were quarried miles away, yet no one has found a single trace of ramp, sled, or wheel. Mainstream history placed Puma Punku's construction around 500 AD, but new radiocarbon dating around the surrounding soil layers, completed in early 2025, painted a different picture. Some parts of the site might be over 12,000 years old, predating the Inca, Egypt's pyramids, and even known agriculture. And now, the discovery inside Block 23 threatened to push the timeline further back still. If a metal object was truly sealed inside a granite block this ancient, it meant two possibilities, both impossible. Either an unknown civilization possessed advanced technology long before recorded history, or someone, or something, had intervened. Dr. Vargas's team knew the risk. Any attempt to open the block could destroy what was inside. But if the scans were right, the object's shape was too precise to be natural. It looked engineered. Vargas glanced at the team. "We document everything. No one touches the core until we have 3 cameras rolling." The plug was still in place, the metallic signature still faint, and around them Puma Punku's silent stones seemed to watch. The air was thin at nearly 13,000 feet, but inside the tent it felt heavier still. 3 cameras stood ready, their red lights glowing in the half-dark. The only sound was the quiet hum of the portable X-ray unit still cooling down. Dr. Vargas took a breath. "Begin." 2 technicians moved in. One held a custom diamond-tip drill designed to cut a core without sending cracks through the ancient stone. The other monitored vibrations on a small screen. Every movement was careful, deliberate.
The drill bit touched the stone. A low grinding filled the tent. White dust curled into the air, catching the light like falling snow. After 20 minutes, the plug loosened. Vargas reached out, her gloved hands steady. She slid the stone plug free and set it aside. Everyone leaned in. Inside the narrow cavity, something metallic caught the light. Not rusted, not corroded, but shining. It was shaped like a disc, no larger than a man's palm, with faint etching circling its edge. The lines didn't match any known Andean symbols. The disc seemed almost modern. "Is it copper?" one assistant whispered. Vargas shook her head. "No, not copper. This is something else." She reached in with a pair of rubber-tipped tongs and lifted the object free. It was heavier than expected, far heavier for its size, and when she turned it in the light, the etchings glowed faintly, as if reflecting more than just the tent's lamps. A shiver passed through the room. Because everyone could see it now, the etchings weren't random. They were a map. The camera zoomed in as Vargas laid the disc on a black velvet cloth. Its metallic surface felt warm to the touch, unnervingly so, considering it had been locked in stone for what could be millennia. Under magnification, the etchings resolved into a series of intersecting arcs and straight lines, marked with tiny symbols no one in the room recognized. They weren't Incan, they weren't Aymara, they weren't anything from Earth's known ancient scripts. And yet, the design was precise, technical. Vargas adjusted the portable light, and the arcs seemed to form a three-dimensional projection in the shadows. One of the interns gasped, "That's not a city. That's a star map." Dr. Rahman, the team's astrophysicist, stepped forward. He studied the arrangement for less than a minute before whispering, "These aren't random. They correspond to the Pleiades, but from an angle you'd only see tens of thousands of years ago." The tent fell silent. In Aymara legends, the Pleiades were called Kuto, the gathering place. Myth claimed the gods came from there, bringing the gift of the builder's hand. Archaeologists had always dismissed it as a metaphor, but the disc was telling a different story. Vargas set her jaw. "If this is what I think it is, it changes everything we know about this site and about history." Before anyone could respond, the Geiger counter on the equipment table chirped, then chirped again. The metallic disc wasn't just old, it was emitting radiation. And at that moment, miles away, in the thin air above the Andes, a weather satellite picked up something strange, a faint, pulsing signal coming from Puma Punku. The Geiger counter's sharp clicks filled the tent, each one faster than the last. Dr. Rahman checked the readings twice, his brow furrowing. This isn't background radiation. It's structured, like it's pulsing in intervals. Before Vargas could respond, the satellite phone on the folding table lit up. No ringtone, no vibration, just a line of scrolling text on its tiny green screen. "Stop. Leave site immediately." No sender, no signal bars. Then silence. A cold wind swept through the dig, though the air had been still moments before. The tent walls rippled. Somewhere in the distance, the low rumble of engines rolled over the plateau. "Do you hear that?" one of the students asked. They all stepped outside. Over the ridge, two dark helicopters approached, blades chopping the thin air. No insignia, no lights. "Those aren't the Bolivian military," Vargas muttered. She'd worked in enough conflict zones to know the difference. The team scrambled. The disc was wrapped. The laptop slammed shut. But before they could reach the trucks, a bright beam from one of the helicopters pinned them in place. A voice boomed from the loudspeaker, distorted but unmistakably authoritative. "Step away from the object. Keep your hands visible. This site is now under control of the Global Heritage Security Task Force." Rahman's eyes narrowed. That's not even a real UN division. In that moment, the disc, still clutched in Vargas's hands, gave off a sharp, metallic hum, louder now, almost alive. The helicopters hesitated midair, as if the pilots themselves were startled. Then the hum turned into a piercing tone that could be felt in their bones. The ground beneath Puma Punku began to tremble. The trembling deepened, turning the once firm plateau into a shifting, groaning expanse. Stones that had lain unmoved for centuries slid against one another with a grinding scream. Vargas stumbled, clutching the disc to her chest. The hum inside it was no longer contained. It pulsed out in waves, syncing perfectly with the tremors beneath their feet. From the center of Puma Punku's largest platform, a seam appeared where none had been there before. Dust rose in a slow spiral as if drawn upward by some invisible current. Raman shouted over the roar of the earth, "It's not a temple, it's a hatch." The helicopters banked hard to pull away, their spotlights whipping across the ruins. Through the swirling dust, a structure began to emerge, not carved from stone, but formed from a dark metallic alloy, its surface patterned with intricate geometric etchings that glowed faintly blue. The slabs of Puma Punku weren't just placed with impossible precision. They were part of a larger mechanism, perfectly interlocking to conceal this buried construct. The metallic door slid open with a low, resonant note that seemed to vibrate in every skull on the plateau. Beyond it, a tunnel, walls smooth as glass, lined with symbols no one could recognize, yet oddly familiar. Shapes echoed in ancient petroglyphs from every corner of the globe. A column of cold air poured out, laced with a scent like ozone before a storm. Somewhere deep within, a steady rhythm pulsed. Not mechanical, not quite organic. Vargas stepped forward, unable to resist the pull. Behind her, Raman's voice was tight with both awe and dread. This is older than humanity. The first step inside was like crossing a threshold between worlds. The tunnel's walls shimmered faintly, as if they were made of metal that breathed. Every footstep sent a soft echo racing ahead, vanishing into the darkness. The hum from the disc in Vargas's hands grew stronger, almost impatient, guiding her deeper. Thin veins of light ran along the walls, converging into intricate spirals that pulsed in time with that same heartbeat-like rhythm. The air was cool, but not dead. It carried a faint vibration, like the chamber itself was awake and listening. Raman brushed his fingers along the smooth surface. It's not corroded, not even scratched. This has been here for thousands of years, and it's perfect.
They came to a circular chamber where the floor dipped into a vast depression, its center dominated by a raised pedestal. Above, the ceiling formed a dome that seemed to vanish into a star-filled void, yet Vargas knew they were still underground. The pedestal's surface bore the same glowing symbols as the walls, but with one clear difference. At its center was a shallow, disc-shaped indentation. Her breath caught. The fit was exact. Raman stepped back. "Vargas, if that thing powers up, we have no idea what it will do." But her hands moved before her mind could protest. She lowered the artifact into the slot. The chamber reacted instantly. The spirals on the walls ignited in brilliant blue-white, racing outward like lightning veins. The heartbeat became a roar. And then the stars above them shifted. One by one, they aligned into a precise pattern, a map, not on Earth, somewhere else. The light was almost too bright to bear. Vargas shielded her eyes as the dome above blazed with alien constellations. These were not the familiar patterns of Orion or the Southern Cross. These were jagged, sprawling clusters that no human culture had ever named. Raman was already recording, his voice trembling. This is a star chart, but it's not from our night sky." The lines between the stars began to draw themselves, forming a vast network, points connected by pulsing pathways of light, like arteries in a colossal body. Some lines pulsed slowly, others flickered like rapid-fire signals. Then, one star flared, brighter than the rest, a cold white beacon on the far edge of the pattern. Around it, faint geometric rings appeared, pulsing in sync with the chamber's heartbeat. Vargas felt it before she understood it, a pull deep in her chest, as if something far away had just noticed her. A low, resonant tone filled the air, vibrating through their bones. Symbols cascaded across the pedestal, rearranging themselves into a sequence neither of them could read. And then, the voice. It wasn't sighed in the traditional sense. It was inside her head, deep, resonant, speaking in a language she somehow understood without knowing. "You have awakened the pathway. The cycle begins anew. The floor beneath them shuddered. The star map shifted again, zooming in on that white beacon until it filled the entire dome. For a fraction of a second, Vargas swore she saw the surface of a world, gleaming towers, vast oceans, and something moving across the landscape like shadows made of light. The hum peaked into a sharp, piercing tone. The lights went out. When her vision adjusted, the pedestal was empty. The disk was gone. Only the map's final image burned in her mind, a single line stretching from the beacon straight toward Earth.